Hi, everybody. This is Patti Negri. Welcome to the Witching Hour, that hour of the day when the veil is thin and magic happens. We have some great magic for you today, some Hollyweird magic. What? Yes, indeed. We have Hollyweird herself, the beautiful Tammie Merheb-Chavez. Now, you probably know who she is from television, Travel Channel, internet, and everywhere else. But if you don't, let me tell you about her. Tammie is a full-time costume designer for theater and film in Hollywood by day and a paranormal investigator by night. Her origins in the paranormal can be traced back to her hometown of New Orleans. As a child, Tammie was always intrigued by mysteries, lore, and ghost stories of her spiritual hometown, New Orleans. Working in a haunted acting school led her to pursue paranormal investigating as a serious hobby, and it remains an integral part of what makes Tammie driven in the paranormal community and co-host of the true crime paranormal podcast, Hollyweird Paranormal, content creator for Travel Channel and featured panelist on paranormal networks Scared and Alone. She has recently wrapped 2 episodes of the new season of Ghost Adventures. Yes, indeed. We have that together. So welcome, Tammie. Thank you.
Thank you, Patti, for having me. I'm so excited.
I am so excited too. I love you. You're one of my favorite people. We don't, for some reason, don't get to see each other that often. We've worked together a little tiny bit, and we could talk about that at the dearly departed place. But so I love the fact that you by theater you work in theater and film, because don't you find anything like sound stages, theaters, the most haunted places there are?
Absolutely. I've had my first experience in a haunted theater in New Orleans. And growing up in New Orleans, you just knew it was a very spooky and very spiritual and unique town. And yes, everywhere you go seems to be haunted there, especially their theaters. But yeah,
Yeah.
I've worked in quite a few haunted spaces, haunted film sets, quite a few here in Hollywood. And my acting job, my last acting school, a costume department at the school in Hollywood that was the location of the Charlie Chaplin bungalows, and next door was his former studio. So we had a lot of what people claim were Charlie Chaplin apparitions.
Yes. So we have him in common as well.
Absolutely.
He built a couple places in my neighborhood. Um, my very first ghost adventures was, they called me in because Zach had heard, they were at the they were at the American Legion Hall, that he had heard that I had talked to the ghost of Charlie Chaplin, and I got all this information, and little beknownst to me, I had told him that it was in the exact chair that he sat in every night. So that was my intro to the whole show. But he's such an integral part of Hollywood. And he built so many houses for girlfriends all over the city and for himself. And in my experience, even though he told me a little bit about that whole, whatever scare in the war, he seems like a pretty happy ghost. I do like happy ghosts versus going to the insane asylum again and going to the prison and to the serial killer's house. But I must say, actually, the place where somebody caught in fire on my show was at a house that he built for one of his girlfriends, Mary Astor. So I think Charlie Chaplin still might be running Hollywood. I don't know.
Yeah, he owned half of it back in the early 1900s. That was his town.
Yeah.
He had money, he had the talent, he had the power.
Yeah. So have you noticed in haunted, I think big in life, big in death. So, people are going to be quiet ghosts, actors, actresses, stagehands are going to be big. So have you noticed that, as well as though they're haunted and ghosts in themselves scare people, that there's often happier ghosts at theaters and sound stages?
Yes, there's a lot of theaters around here that I've been told have their own ghosts. Of course, every theater has its own ghosts because as actors, we're the main conduits when we go on stage. If you think about it, we are demanding attention and kind of repeating history on stage. So we are these conduits that are, trying to feed and conjure up this energy. So of course it's going to absorb the walls right there. And think about it. If you're a ghost, especially a Hollywood ghost, and you're an actress, of course you want to have that attention on you in spirit in every sense of the word. So I feel I would be happiest on stage or, a Warner Brothers sound stage and, being a part of that movie magic like I was in the living.
Yeah, exactly. So
Mhm.
so we need to go to a soundstage or something together one of these days. I think we should do a seance, do
Absolutely.
something really fun, investigation, see how you lead me. So, I didn't know until I read this that you're from New Orleans, one of my favorite
Yeah.
cities. So how did you? Okay, if you lived at a place haunted and you worked at a school, what was your introduction to the paranormal?
Well, growing up in New Orleans, I was always surrounded by legends and lore of that city. In school, you were taught about that during, Halloween. We were told about the legend of the Rougarou, and we had our own local legend in New Orleans called the Woman in White of Mona Lisa Drive, which was a ghost that toured around City Park area and we always sorts of different types of stories in different areas of New Orleans. I remember even driving down St. Charles Avenue with my mom, and she said, "Oh, that's the house that is claimed to be haunted." And she would just always share with me crazy stories about the city as well. So I just knew the city was just so unique and so spiritual. You go anywhere else, you just didn't feel that. But when you came to New Orleans, when you were there, you just feel it. You just feel that kind of sense of heaviness and this mysteriousness. And um, and yeah, when I was there, I was working for a summer stock theater. And I was just barely 2 weeks into a production that we were building costumes for. It was a musical called Camelot and they had me go and cut pattern pieces for in the front foyer of the theater because we had no room in the shop. It was a huge production, and it was a dark and stormy moon, as it always is in a summer day or during the summer in New Orleans. And I was cutting these pattern pieces by myself in the front foyer. In the corner of my eye, this apparition of a man, it looked like a man. He was standing by the staircase, by the banister of the staircase, and every time I would look up, he was just not there. But in my mind's eye, I would see him like he was in all black, had a black mustache, had a black hair. It was just I could see him clear as day in my head. And I thought maybe it was one of the directors coming in and out, of their offices. But when I finally saw one of the directors come out, I mean, he was dressed in a white shirt and jeans. I was like, no, that's not him. So something, I don't know, I wasn't by myself in that front foyer of the theater. So during our lunch break, I go into the costume shop and I tell the ladies, I'm like, hey, is the theater haunted? And without hesitation, they said, yeah, yeah, we have a ghost. His name is Bob. I was like, what? So um, they were telling me that Bob, is their theater ghost. And as they're telling me the story of Bob, in walks in the props director, and they tell her, "Oh, Tammie saw Bob." And it turned out that the props director had a close relationship with Bob when he was living because Bob was her mentor. Bob was the head of lighting, and when she started working in the theater, he kind of like showed her the ropes. And unfortunately, I think years and years ago, he passed away due to cancer. And after he still made his way back to work in the theater. And I asked her, well, what did Bob look like? And of course, without hesitation, oh, he had black hair, a black mustache. And when people see him here, he's in his theater blacks because when you're in production, you are all black age. And I was like, I'm done. That's it. I saw him. That was it. That was my introduction to the paranormal and knowing that there's something so much bigger and beyond, in our realm that we don't know about.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that makes life so much more exciting? So now you
Yes.
are a seasoned, respected, loved, one of the top paranormal women, I think, in the business. So, and I know you're a little witchy because you do call yourself a kitchen witch. So,
Yes.
and I want to go there, but before we even go there, when you go on investigations, do you do anything specific for protections or to open the veil or close the veil, or how much of that do you bring into your paranormal stuff?
Oh yes, definitely. I bring it into my, paranormal investigations as best as possible because I always want to go in there with a clear conscience, but at the same time to make sure that I am protected. There are energies out there that can really, drain us and drain our minds at the same time. And, there's always a thing in the back of your head, like, what if something comes and follows me home, which I've had in the past, but I always leave black salt out in my front door and my back door. I tell whoever does not serve me, whatever's negative stays outside, which it has. Before an investigation, I always light Palo Santo for my ancestors and call upon and then when I come back home, I light Palo Santo again and just cleanse myself that way and go to sleep and every time.
Yeah, it is the awareness. There's a lot that's very, very similar to what I do, and it's your intent and your statement and everything, and it's so simple, but you got to do it
Yeah,
because
you have to have a good mindset. Make sure that you're going in with the best intention and that you're very positive and respectful.
yeah, yeah. So tell me a little bit about your kitchen witchery. What does that mean to somebody who does, well, what's a kitchen witch?
So I took a couple classes a few years ago with Mystic Dylan at the
Mm,
Mystic Museum, and it was an
love him.
introduction to witchcraft. I know he's so amazing, and it was a beautiful class on the history of witchcraft and its practices and its misconceptions. And there was one day where we were learning how to work with herbs, and I absolutely loved it. It was just I guess it's me being a Cancer Leo. I love taking care of people and making sure that they feel comfortable and safe. And I just started working with herbs like a lot of mug and rosemary and eyebright and so on and so forth that I just loved, making these little concoctions, making, I guess, bringing in my New Orleanian heritage, my gris bag, putting them into a bag and giving them to friends before, investigations, or if they were having a bad day, giving them a white candle and some herbs so they could burn, later on that evening to hopefully make everything okay. Or if someone had a tummy ache or couldn't, had trouble sleeping, I would make them like a little mugwort and whatnot, and in hopes that that could help them. And sure enough, it did.
Sure enough, it did. Yeah, exactly. The first medicine, pre-pharma, whatever. So yeah, me too. I'm all of that, except I'm just not good at stuff that you have to eat. Though that
Yeah.
kitchen witchery, it's like, but yeah, I don't know about eating it. I mean, that kitchen witchery idea and how put that magic into your cooking is what got me on MasterChef. It's just I still never brought the craft into like, but don't know if you eat it. Do you put it into your food as well?
A little bit. I made lavender bread, and I also incorporated some roses into a smoothie, like rose petals for self
Mm.
love. And I worked out pretty well. Honey also is another good additive to kind of like eliminate the bitterness of some of those herbs. But yeah, it's all about trial and error and what works and what doesn't, and just kind of diving deep into that. And you never know what happens, what magic you can
Yeah.
conjure up. So.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So I know you've been working a lot. You've been really busy on all sorts of things. You've been working on some Travel Channel stuff. So tell us what you got going on with like my boys, the Ghost Adventure guys, and
Oh, I
I
love
know you've
them.
been doing something. Yeah.
Absolutely. Everyone that works in behind the camera and camera, Zach has some really wonderful people that work under him. And I've been told by them that they are really well taken care of by Zach, and they just enjoy working on the show. And I could see it. Being
Yeah.
behind camera, I was able to see that. So there were 2 episodes that I'm with in their new season. I've been in talks with their producers, and they wanted me to come in and, be a part of some interviews and also be a paranormal researcher. And there was one location which I can't talk too much about until about was actually a location I had several experiences at in Los Angeles. It was a film set that I was working on, and I had some very unexplained experiences while working on that set. All I can say is that Jack Oz investigated this property 2 years ago, so he can definitely confirm a lot of the hauntings. And of course, Zach went in with his team, and they came out with a lot of crazy evidence and a lot of unreal EVPs. It was very insane. Second episode that I worked on with them, I came on as a researcher to talk about the crimes of this specific hotel in downtown Los Angeles.
Ah.
And yeah, and being able to see how they set everything up, um, seeing how his production team works, and it's just amazing, the things that they come up with and what they find and what they literally see manifest. So it was a very exciting experience.
Yeah, and what they remind me of, even though they're this big production company, been doing it for 100 years now, it still reminds me of a theater company. We both have that theater where everybody does everything. When you're on a regular Hollywood set, it's like the lighting person doesn't touch the this, and the grip doesn't touch the that, and this. Now this is like, Zach going, Aaron, pick that up, Billy, move that, I do that. It's the feel to me of like theater, of that,
Oh yes,
especially like kamikaze
you have to
theater.
be a performer.
Yeah.
Performers. I mean, I've acted too, as well as design. You have to know all aspects and all pocket, or if you're not acting, here, pick up a needle and thread, help me sew costumes, or
Yeah.
maybe if you're on set, pick up this boom mic and maybe help with sound. And they are Swiss Army knives when it comes to production. They know what to do in front of the camera, they know what to do behind you. And speaking with Jay, they were even nominated for I think it was an American camera or cinematography
Wow.
award for cinematography. And Jay was so like happy that I think they won it or they were nominated, but still they were recognized for their cinematography on the show. And if you notice now with their episodes, it's like art. It is
Yeah.
their everything, and their director of photography, who is amazing, just has this really good eye, and they have a really good way of now telling the story of these locations that they're investigating, which I find fascinating.
I do too. And it just keeps growing and growing. So again,
It
that's
does,
what
it
that
doesn't
first thing I
stop.
fell in love with, how it's so different than so many shows. So
Yeah, it doesn't stop. Yeah, it's cool on that set with them. You've been on that set with them for so many years, traveling
that's
with
okay,
them.
but
Yeah,
it's always an adventure. It's always, and you don't
it
know,
really is.
as like a choreographed dance as it is, at least for me going in as a medium, I have no idea. I never know where I'm going or what I'm going to do or who's going to be there, or so it's always an adventure. Just like Ghost Adventures, good name. I have no
Yeah.
idea where we are. So so, what are some of the other things that you have come? You have a podcast, right? Tell us about. I know you
Yeah.
didn't have an anniversary of your podcast. Tell us about that.
Yes, we are 100th and our 100th episode and of Hollyweird Paranormal podcast, which is what catapulted me into the paranormal. I wanted to create a podcast with my really good friend Bryce Mitchell Williams, who's also my co-host. He's the comedic relief, but also lot of great. Uh, he brings a lot of great banter and content to the table as well. He's very open-minded as an open-minded skeptic,
Mm.
and he also brings his own beliefs, which counteract with mine. We decided to come up with Hollyweird Paranormal podcast because we worked at a haunted acting school in Hollywood, and the school was claimed to be haunted by the ghost of your friend Charlie Chaplin. So the school is located in Hollywood, and it's next to our studios, which is now the Jim Henson Studios. But in 1917, it was built as the Charlie Chaplin Studios. And right across the street where our school is, we have two historical buildings. It's his bungalows. So these were his houses because he lived right next to his job. He would wake up, get ready, and go to work. And I remember the school at one point wanted to tear down the houses, and they were like, "No, this is actually protected by the city. This is the Chaplin bungalows." So the houses, one of them they turned them into offices, and the other one they turned it into a green room for the theater. And those that were stationed in the bungalow with the offices always had weird going on. So one director that had her off tell me that she would always feel a presence of a man in that bungalow. And there were times where this gentleman, she knew that this whatever was there would always play tricks on her. So
Mhm.
she had this bowl where she would always put her car keys on her desk, and she knew that she would always leave him there before she come into her office, grab him before she left. And at times, the keys would move into her fridge. They would move into a couch or underneath her chair. They would end up in different places. And she's like, there's no way. There's just no way. And she thought someone in those offices were playing a trick on her. And they're like, no, we know not to go in your office. There was one instance where a director saw what they believed was an apparition of a man in a suit and bowler hat backstage as an actor was delivering a monologue. So this actor was supposed to be by himself on the stage, and the other cast members were in the green room getting ready. And no one's supposed to be backstage at this point. No one's supposed to be on stage. And the director on the headset was yelling at the stage manager, who in the hell is backstage peeking in and out of stage left curtains? And they're like, who you're talking about? They're like, there is a man in a suit, bowler hat, peeking in and out, like, get him out, get him out. And the stage manager's like, I don't see anyone. So yeah, it was it was unexplainable. No one can explain who that was, what was happening. And everybody backstage was like getting ready to get into our next costume, and no one was back there. So it was no one could explain what occurred. Security guards would also see an apparition of a man just wandering on the grounds, and it looked like he would disappear into a wall or into a gate. So it was this correlation, like, it has to be him. It has to
It
be
has
Charlie
to be.
Chaplin.
It
Yeah.
has to be. Again, that big in life, and I think he loved Hollywood. If you said he lived and worked all that together, he's gonna go there.
And
And
this
for
is
any of
impossible.
you out
Mhm.
there who don't know who Charlie Chaplin is, or any out there who didn't go, "Oh, a bowler hat and a suit," look up Charlie Chaplin. Whether you're in Hollywood or
Mhm.
theatrics, he was probably one of the best physical comedians of all time. If you
Absolutely.
picture the little guy going geeky deeky deeky deek with the little cane and the little
Like,
bowler hat, he's hysterical. There's modern people who've done him, like Robert Downey Jr. There's movies and things like out there, but check out the real Charlie Chaplin if you don't know him. Because I was just somewhere last night where it was a group of musicians and I was doing a seance and somebody didn't know who Freddie Mercury was, and we almost all fell out of our chair. I'm like, everybody, and I don't care if it's
I can
because you're
imagine.
young. It's like people should know who Beethoven is. He's long dead. You don't have to be of a certain age. But anyway, so everybody should know who Charlie Chaplin is.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so this has been delightful. I have so many questions. We'll just have to have you back. But in the meantime, where can people find you?
People can find me on social media at Hollyweird Paranormal on Facebook and on Instagram. I'm also on TikTok under Haunted LA Girl, and HWP Podcast on Twitter. And of course, I'll be on the next couple of Episode Adventures new season. I think it should be airing in a couple of weeks.
Awesome. You guys check her out. Beautiful, Hollyweird Tammie Merheb-Chavez. Thank you. And we didn't even get to talk about our which I think there's some stuff coming out soon at The Dearly
Oh,
Departed.
yes. Oh my gosh. If we have a couple more minutes,
Yes, we do.
when I first met you, Patti, we were investigating a very, very popular location that no one has ever investigated. And it was myself and Bridget Marcourt and our friend Shayna Mokler, and we were all venturing and investigating the Dearly Departed Museum with our friend Scott Michaels. And we had, I think, encountered a couple of unknown energies there. I think we had even made communication with who was it, Patsy Cline,
Yes.
and I believe, oh my goodness, oh, who else? Who else? I think there was a serial killer in there that we may have possibly. Is it Holmes, the serial
Oh,
killer of
yeah.
H. Holmes, and so much more. But that place was so active. Oh, Bugsy Siegel was another one too. He was a bit saucy.
Yes, I remember that. I was like, yeah.
I
So
know, and then we did the dowsing rods. Yeah, we did so much, and we had collected so many interesting responses and I believe EVPs. So it was really, really crazy. I can't wait to see the video and I can't wait to see what people, you know, can like witness or probably pick up that we weren't able to possibly
Yes.
pick up in real time. Yeah.
'Cause so much. It was so fun. And this place, sadly, it doesn't exist anymore for right now,
No,
but they
no.
literally had, like, the Jane Mansfield car where she passed and
Yes.
was squished and just
That's right,
crazy,
'cause you were, like, in
fabulous.
communication with her too. She strongly felt there, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that
you
was a
guys
very
watch for that coming soon, and we
mhm,
will certainly announce it on our shows.
absolutely.
And that was fun too because it was girls. I mean, as much as we are both girls in the paranormal, it is still a boy heavy business.
It is.
So, and
Definitely is.
and if there is a girl, it's like 3 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys, and maybe 1 girl. But so
Yes.
this was great. All female, all women, and we were great.
We were. We kept it very light, we kept it very exciting, and we kept it fun. So it was
Yeah.
a good time. Mhm.
Which is the way I like it. So thank you
Yeah.
again. You guys check her out on social media, her website, follow her everywhere where that is. Check out her podcast and come back soon. Thank you for visiting us on The Witching Hour.